Number 5, this is an interesting one. Watch out for information overload.
You know, that gets harder and harder to do because when you're trying to do some research, in my case, doing research on clients and that sort of stuff, there is just tons of information coming from everywhere, and it really is hard to realize, okay, I have enough to make this choice or make this decision. Because for small business, John, I don't know about you, but for me, what I found is you're never going to be able to get all of the information necessary to make a decision. Sooner or later, you're just going to have to make a choice based on the information you have, or the question's going to change, you know, and that's just because things are constantly moving. So you do want to make sure before you start the process, you kind of give yourself some parameters. This is what I'm looking for, and if I find this within this parameter, I'm either going to go for this or not go for this.
Yeah, and part of the advantage that small businesses have is that they can make decisions faster, right? I mean, the theory is that they don't have as much red tape as a really big S&P 500 style company. They don't have 50 layers of management they have to go through. So they can get stuck sometimes in this information overload. They're used to, you know, having every piece of information before making a decision, but that goes against the grain when it comes to small businesses, which are supposed to be able to make decisions really rapidly.
Yeah, exactly right. And the thing I would add is that I tend to believe that successful business owners are always learners. They're always trying to get, but you can overdo it. In fact, I found myself doing that. I like to just continue to learn new things, and suddenly I realize I'm spending all my time, you know, looking at my screen and learning. And I finally have to say, okay, enough. You know, you've just got to stay focused on the business. And with all the information that's out there.
Now, the YouTube videos of squirrels, you count that learning?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
That's the problem. I mean, it's the old surfing the internet thing you can spend, you know, days doing. But anyway, so watch out for information overload. Number 6, that's a good one. Know your why.
Know why.
Know your why.
That really is important because I find that there's 2 questions that you're gonna find yourself struggling with in business. The first one is, why am I getting in business to begin with? And then, why am I ready to sell or get out? You know, and honestly, I find, I don't know about you, John. I'll be interested to hear what you say about your clients, but money is not the number one motivating factor for the clients that I speak with. It is probably a second tier. It is their measurement, don't get me wrong, but I don't find that to be the number one motivating factor.
No, I agree. And, you know, why, for those of you who are, you know, Joe, or Wayne, you were talking about learning.
Simon Sinek.
Yeah, Simon Sinek, his video on why and his book on why and the audio. One of the things that I find is that entrepreneurs generally are not driven by money. I know that when I started our firm, you know, 11 years ago, the reason I left PricewaterhouseCoopers, which is an incredible firm. I mean, they do really great work and they're really large. But one of the reasons I left was because I felt like I wasn't making an impact to small business. And I had 1 or 2 clients who were probably, you know, wanted to be with PricewaterhouseCoopers, but clearly were not their A client target. And when I made a difference to them, the impact and the reception I received from them was so heartfelt that's what was passionate for me. That's why I started it 11 years ago, was to help people and actually see the impact. You know, if I saved somebody $1 million and that was insignificant to them, it didn't matter. But when I saved somebody $5,000 and they were really excited, it made an impact.
And I think that's perfect. And we alluded to it. We might talk some more about it, but that's culture. And the one thing I remember Simon Sinek pointed out in that initial discussion about start with why is that you want to hire based on your why. You want people that, you know, he used the Wright brothers as an example, who had no money and ended up being the first in flight when they were in competition with someone that had all the money, and they hired people to do stuff. They found people that believed in wanting to be the first to fly, kind of like what you're talking about. So those are the kind of people you want to hire. So this is, I'm liking this guy too. I think that's a great point. Number 7.
You found a good article. Wow.
Well, sometimes even a blind squirrel, finds a nut sometimes. I found you, Joe. Recognize that many wins were originally far-fetched ideas.
Say that one more time. I wasn't paying attention. I was trying to figure out whether you were making fun of me or not on that last statement.
I was. We should have rang the bell. But, Chris
Stop with the bell. You don't even know what he said, man.
Gosh,
aggravating. The whole studio got problems up in here.
Okay, we're talking about the 10 things I wish I'd known when I started. Number 7 is recognize that many wins were originally far-fetched ideas. You kind of talked about this.
Oh
earlier.
yeah, if somebody would have told, I remember when I opened up my first small little sandwich shop inside the Koger Executive Center off Albemarle Road. My mom borrowed $12,000 off her home to get me in business. If somebody would have told me 4.5 years later I would have owned over 12 of those same small units, I would have never thought that was the case. And so it was never a dream or a thought of mine. It's just when I woke up every day, I had this another thought, this another plan. And so I absolutely agree with this statement that some of the successes, they come because they're opportunities and you're prepared to act on them. That's my opinion on that.
When I think about this one, I think about Steve Jobs' Stanford graduation speech, and that you can only connect the dots in reverse, and so sometimes you can only see them going backwards and looking back in your history, and some of those are, the wins are originally far-fetched ideas. You just didn't see how it connected.
Yeah, nope, you guys cover that one. Number 8 is measure everything.
Yeah, well, you know that better than anybody, Wayne. And we try and tell people. It's funny that John's here as an accountant because it is the biggest problem I've got. People come to me and they say they want to sell their business.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm making all manner of money. Can I see an income statement? Well, I tell you what. Let me get with my accountant and see if I can't get that together to you next Tuesday. You don't have it already? So they have no idea. They've got no idea what a P&L needs to look like so that a buyer is comfortable and can validate that information. It is extremely challenging, and that's probably the biggest thing that I find to be a stumbling block on this.
Yeah, and it's not. To me, it's not just the individual financial data and the income statements. It's also, sort of KPI type stuff,
Exactly.
key performance indicators. For us, we're really trying to be accountable on a sales and marketing perspective because accountants generally are very poor at that. So one of the things we do is we measure the number of center of influence meetings we have every month. We measure our pipeline. We measure our opportunities, the amount of conferences we go to, and we report that on a monthly basis. And we make it into charts and graphs. And what we can show is that in a month where if we get really busy during tax season, if we get really busy and we cut down on those meetings, guarantee that 3 to 6 months later, our sales pipeline decreases drastically because we didn't have the meetings, because a pipeline gets built by meetings and it takes a long time before it actually comes through.
Yeah, I think that's perfect, John. And the old saying, you can only improve things that you measure, or you can't tell if you're improving it unless you measure it. This guy's right on there.
And it really goes back to making decisions. We talk about it, Wayne, with our clients on marketing as well. And clearly, you don't know whether to spend that money or not unless you've counted how many times somebody has acknowledged that, in fact, that marketing has worked. And so many small business people don't take the time to ask the simple question, where did you hear about us? And if you ask that question, you'll get an honest reply back, and you'll know whatever it is you're doing, whether you're spending your time and energy, in fact, whether it's working or not.
Okay, number 9, you need only one service or product.
That's an interesting statement. I will tell you
it is
this.
an interesting one.
I'll tell you this, that I find myself telling people when I meet them that I help people buy and sell small businesses. Period. My expertise is about 4 or 5 million in gross sales or less. That's it. I don't get into the small business advisory. I don't get into all those other things because I don't want to confuse them what it is I actually do. So for me, I probably do that and have been doing that for a while now, just because I want to make it simplistic for someone to understand what I do.
And you're talking about the marketing side, which I agree with, and I think you're right. I think part of what they're trying to get at here is that too often when you start a business, you're trying to be too many things.
Yeah, I think it makes sense in startup.
Spread too thin, and I don't think he's really saying you have to just have one product or service, but he's saying be careful spreading yourself too thin, as well as how you brand yourself, but because you could drive yourself crazy and not be good at anything.
Yeah, I think it's really important in startup. I think when you get to a certain size, depending on each individual business, whether that's revenue based or whatever, I think you do have to expand. I think it's hard to sell one product if you're doing 20 million in revenue. you got to be somewhere
Exactly.
somewhere between startup and 20 million. You got to add some products and services.
Exactly. Okay, number 10 out of the 10 things I wish I'd known when I started my business is keep in touch with everybody.
You know, that is so important, and it's amazing how many small business people do not do that well. If you can just stay in contact with the people you've already met, it makes it a whole lot easier to keep that pipeline full. It is a challenge, and there are plenty of products and services out there to help you do that. But it is what ends up happening is, and we've ran some numbers on this, it is much more expensive to go out and get a new client than it is to get a current client to want to buy something else.
Absolutely.